So, scientists, are we ready to go?
I'm Nick Dirks. I'm a professor of history and anthropology at the University of California, Berkeley, where I was the 10th chancellor of the university. I know that China has made enormous progress, but what is so important to me is that there's a very strong connection to the history of China. And I think that's very important for a civilization to be historically minded.
So it's wonderful to be out here on the water on one of the first warm spring days of April in Beijing, and to experience the history of the Qing dynasty.
It was known for having a caste system. It was, of course, colonized by the British for 200 years. It began its post-independent life both trying to achieve rapid industrialization and maintaining a sometimes chaotic democratic political system. And of course in China, it had a very different kind of history. But the Republic of China began, of course, about the same time as post-independent India, and the leadership here was interested in developing industrialization in the same way. But it seemed to have much more success.
I myself only began to come to China in 2004, so even when I came, China was already extremely modern, and it had many extraordinary buildings and roads, and it was completely open in terms of business and commerce and trade. But as an historian, the first things I read about China were the Opium War. And fortunately, China went through these different wars, went through different experiences of contact with the West.
I know that China has made enormous progress, but what is so important to me is that there's a very strong connection to the history of China. And I think that's very important for a civilization to be historically minded. Each part of the world, each nation has a very distinctive history, and that history determines to some extent how we think about fundamental questions of who we are, what is our place in the world. Culture matters, so I think a lot about cultural identity and cultural modes of being in the world, and culture is shaped by history. So I think that President Xi is correct that each country has some distinctive features. Right now in the United States, there are some people who are protesting against the present. They're protesting against globalization. They're protesting against the new kind of connectivity that is part of the modern world. And I think it can be very dangerous to think you can reject that because we are connected. And so the openness of China is taking advantage of many different opportunities. And it is, I think, an important sign of China's willingness to take on a kind of almost global leadership at a time when many countries and many nations are feeling that they want to draw back and build walls and fortify borders, which I think is a very dangerous idea. I mean, I believe in free trade, and I think that ever since the 18th century, it has been the case that open trade is good because it establishes relationships, and it establishes mutual dependency and sympathy across and between different people in different parts of the world. So I think that President Xi's idea of continuing to open China up is wonderful and much needed at the present time. I was in Davos in January of 2017 when President Xi gave his speech on the first day of the World Economic Forum. And it was a very inspiring speech, and everyone who was in Davos, I think, felt that that kind of global leadership would be so important, especially now.